Perfect. Hey, Bing. How are you?
Hey, yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, really good, thank you.
Good.
We'll just start by looking back on Saturday, if I may. 2-0 series done and dusted. I guess that was the perfect thing you could have imagined for when coming into this sort of bubble this time last week.
Yeah, to take the series 2 games in is obviously massive credit to the team. With such a tight turnaround to get a group of players together, to be able to put that all to one side and go out and put in those 2 performances that we've done, is just an incredible achievement. Given what's happened.
And for you personally, 100 caps on Saturday. How special was it that you got to do that occasion in front of a full house at Lord's?
Yeah, it was a great day to receive that cap. Doing it at a special place was, I obviously feel very, very lucky to be able to receive it there at Lord's. But I think, the most important thing about that day was continuing on the work that we put in after that first ODI. We managed to do that, and we managed another convincing win. So, albeit great to look back on at the end of your career, certain little individual milestones like that. But, overall, coming away with a win was the most pleasing thing.
And I'm not sure if it's the right word to talk about legacy, but we saw when England lost a couple of quick wickets at the top there, maybe in times gone by, they would have looked to rebuild. But are we seeing Owen Morgan's legacy on white ball cricket, the fact that Phil and James came out and, regardless of wickets lost, maintained that positivity?
I think so. And that's one thing that I, said when we had a wrap up this morning was, one of the most pleasing things was seeing how the inexperienced guys in the teams reacted to that sort of tricky period we had in the middle. And that was, we were only possible to sort of play like that because we were ahead of the game on the back of how Vincey and Salty played. Sometimes when you look to rebuild, you can sort of fall behind the run rate and get yourself into a bit more of a tricky situation. But, the way that everyone came out there and tried to start their innings in a positive way allowed us to get up to a score that we might not have sort of thought we could have got to. But, that partnership at the top between Salty and Vincey was great. And Lewis and Bryden, obviously adding those runs were massively crucial to the score that we ended up getting.
And just going back to the first ODI at the toss, where he jokingly said there's 11 changes and he couldn't remember half the caps you presented. Now, like Phil was talking yesterday and saying you've made everyone feel relaxed. Was that at the front of your mind on Thursday or on last week on the first ODI at the toss, just to keep everyone calm and that tone? You set the tone really from that sort of interview, really.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, being under Morg's captaincy for such a long period of time now, have an understanding of, what works well in this environment. And I wasn't at all going to try and change Morg's mindset towards how he wants the group to feel, how he wants the group to play. So I was very conscious that I'm just going to try my best to continue that, albeit, Morgs isn't here. We've got a different team. I just wanted to make sure that making everyone feel as comfortable as possible and still making sure that sort of letting everyone know that we're going to continue playing the way that Morgs has led us. And, I hope that it's helped in some way to the guys coming in and making debuts and, taking a bit of nerves and a bit of pressure off their shoulders. So I hope it's worked. I don't know if it has, but from the results that we've had, I'd like to say that it has.
And just finally, on the football last night, you're a man who's obviously been there yourself, losing major finals to then bounce back and become a world champion. What message do you have for Gareth Southgate and the boys?
Oh, I think, they'll be absolutely devastated tonight and last night, obviously, no doubt. But what they've managed to achieve, over this period of time is incredible. The nation has been, completely captured by what they've done on the field. Obviously, everyone in the nation would have loved to see England win, but just watching the games, you feel a real connection to the team, the way that Gareth led, the way that Gareth speaks. I think he's been phenomenal in everything that he's done. And, us as a national team alongside them, albeit different sports, we're just incredibly proud of what they've managed to have done. And, they're such a young team full of talent that, the sky's the limit for them. They've got so many more years ahead. They've got so many more tournaments to go and prove themselves in. But in my eyes and everyone else's eyes in this changing rooms, they're absolute legends already.
Perfect. Go well tomorrow.
Thanks.
Thanks, Scott. Rory, will cross over to you, and then George after that.
Thanks. Yeah, just to carry on that theme for just a second, Ben. Thinking back to the 2019 World Cup, Joffre said that you told him, these one moment in a final won't define you. Is that, you've walked that walk as well as talked it. Is that something that you think those England players will be able to realise eventually?
Well, I hope so. You look at where they've gone over the last 2-3 years. The things that they've managed to achieve, and as I said, they're just such a young team at the moment that they've got so much more time on their hands to go out and win trophies for England. And that's what they're probably blessed with as youth. But never has an England team been so exciting to watch. I'm not massively into my football like some of the other lads are, but I've absolutely watched every time they've walked out onto the field, and they're just a real exciting team to watch at the moment. So, they'll be devastated, and it'll probably hurt for a few more weeks. But I'm sure once they get over it and have an understanding of what they're able to achieve, that there'll be a lot bigger occasions to come for those guys, no doubt.
Talking about exciting to watch, Saqib Mahmood has really been a bit of a thrill in this series. He's someone who's been around the group and he's travelled. He's been on tours with you guys, but he's maybe never quite had his moment. And then these last couple of games, he just seems to have just hit a new level. Just a word on what it's been like to captain him and see him sort of fly through the gears. Yeah,
I think obviously with what happened with the squad, getting wiped out and then having to come together and pull a new squad together, tried to take any positives out we could. And the one positive from it was that we're able to see, guys come out and play who've been on the fringe, who've been in and around the team for a long time, who've been in and out. But I think, Saki coming into this team and being the senior bowler has done him the world of good. He hasn't been phased by anything. He's been taking the new ball. I've asked him to come back on at crucial times in both games, and he's performed really well. So, from an individual point of view, from him, it's done him the world of good. And from an England point of view, it's another player that lads are going to have to look over the shoulder for, because it is very tough to perform as a player when you're in and out all the time. You get in the odd game here and there, but these first 2 games, with the responsibility on his shoulders that he's had, he's come out on top and he's performed really, really well.
And if you're getting Babar Azam twice in 2 innings cheaply, really, that's no bad sign. Will he be eager to get a third chance, do you reckon?
Oh, 100%. Saki, to me, he always seems like he wants the ball in his hand. I bowled him 2 5-over spells, 1 6-over spell, and he loves every minute of it. And I think he just loves being in those situations where, he's expected to be the man to come on and change the game, and he's done it every single time he's come on to bowl for me this series. So, yeah, it's real pleasing.
Go for it, George.
Okay. Good day again, Ben. Did you see that we've lost a championship game overnight? It's been abandoned because of COVID. I wondered whether there was any talk yet about bubbles ahead of the India Test series in particular, and how you feel about that as a prospect, because presumably they've lost their novelty value.
I wouldn't quite say they've lost their novelty value, but all these things get put in place to make sure that we stay as safe as possible. And I've got no doubt that things have had to go back to the drawing board. Maybe I'm fortunate enough that that's well above my pay grade, and I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. But everything that gets done from the medical side of view is always to ensure the safety of the players and the backroom staff on these trips. So nothing's been set in stone about what's going to happen in the India series yet, but everything's been done in the right way.
You sound quite phlegmatic about it, really, that if it has to happen, you just sort of get on with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you sort of have to. It's one of these things where you have to make sacrifices. But at the same time, you also need to consider, you know, welfare as well as getting people out in the park. Because living bubble life is very, very tough. Going from hotel to cricket ground on a daily basis, it can get to you. So there is a lot that needs to be thought about. From a keeping everyone as safe as possible, but also making sure that we are being looked after from from the mental side, because being in bubbles is very, very tough.
Okay, thank you.
Lizzie, did you want to go next, and then Ali, I'll go to you after that.
Thanks, Matt. Hi, Ben. Obviously, because of the circumstances, you came back a bit earlier than you were planning to international cricket. Have you managed to get through all right? No impacts? Obviously, you've got a really intense schedule coming up over the next couple of months, but no concerns?
Yeah, I mean, look, it was very short notice coming back into the team, but needs must with this. And we've obviously got a hell of a busy summer still. We've got the T20s, the 100, then the Indy series, and then more winter trips abroad, T20 World Cup, Ashes. So there's a lot of cricket still to come up, but finger wise, there's still a little. It's more annoying me now at this moment. But as it is with I've had finger injuries in the past. They never just turn themselves around quickly. So yeah, as frustrating it is, but all the medical team are doing a great job of managing it and just making sure we're doing what we need to do.
Thanks.
Hi, Ben. I'm just wondering how sort of desperate you are to play in the 100. There's been a bit of chat that because of the sort of COVID situation that Test players may actually have to end up being kept away from the tournament. Would that be a frustration for you if that was the case? Are you really keen to get involved?
It would be, yeah. I'd be very frustrated to not be able to participate in that. It's a massive event for England, and we want to be part of that. Because we know how big a role players play in making a franchise competition big. And if the Test players were unable to play in a competition because of COVID, that would be pretty devastating.
Cool, thank you.
Matt,
Hi, Ben. Hi, Ben. The amount of sort of depth we see in England's white ball side now, do you have any kind of theories about how England have been able to develop such strength and depth, which is obviously very formidable?
Well, I think one thing it's probably with how vocal sort of we've been around how we want to play in the media and stuff like that, and I think players see that, players read that, and come in and buy into the mindset that we have as a white ball group. And everyone who's came into this squad against Pakistan has lived up to that reputation, the mindset that we want as an England team. And obviously it's a different personnel that we normally see out in the field representing England, but everyone's gone out there and tried to play in the way that we want to be known as. So for me, that's such a pleasing thing to have a group of young players coming out of basically county cricket straight into international cricket, and they haven't let the occasion faze them whatsoever. So I think the fact of us being vocal about how we want to play our cricket has definitely rubbed off on guys who came into the squad.
Do you think that sort of strength and depth is also going to drive the first team guys, on even more, because they've got to do so well just to stay in the team with the players underneath them?
Yeah, I mean, competition for places is always a great thing to have at any level. So when you get a complete jig around and you've got a complete new squad who come in and put in such good performances, then that only adds to the expectations that gets put onto the main guys' shoulders when they come back.
Thanks, Tim. Matt, did you want to jump in now?
Yeah, cheers. Hi, Ben. We saw Owen, or read Owen tweeting how impressive the wins have been after the second game. I just wondered whether you'd been in touch with him. Have you been relaying things back from what you've picked up in the squad, or has it been left to you at all altogether?
No, he sent me a nice message before the first game. Just said he's he's there as a sounding board if ever need to speak to anyone. But Morgs is Morgs. He's such a chilled person, as you're all aware of, and has just sort of let me get on with what's needed to be done. So yeah.
So you haven't necessarily been his eyes and ears on players he might not know in the squad?
No.
No. And has it surprised you at all how well you've done?
I was thinking about this the other day, actually, and when I got sent through the squad, I read through it and I was like, even though this is a last minute thing, we've still got a seriously strong and talented squad here, and I knew we'd be able to compete against Pakistan. But I'm not. It'd be a lie to say that I'm surprised with how easily we've managed to do it. But I think that's just credit to everyone who's managed to turn up here and do that. That's I think a reflection on the mindset that England has when it comes to white ball cricket, and just the modern day way of playing is just to go out and express yourself. Don't worry about the occasion and just be fearless. And I think that's such a great thing to come out of the series, is having inexperienced guys go out there, perform on the big stage against a very experienced Pakistan team.